Okay, so this is final part of this strange odyssey of Tehilim 45. So quick review. We've been doing Sforno and Elia Nola, his student. Oh, I actually have a picture. Hold on a second. I want to show you. So I think I told you this was discovered. Elia Nola was Sforno's student, and it was discovered that he it was discovered in manuscript, not manuscript form, handwritten notes on the margins of Bog. Okay, so I saw a picture of it. I found a picture of it. Let me see if I can find it. Elia. Yeah. So this is just really cool. Yeah, so this is the Bog's commentary. You can see here like the Shoresh, okay, and then the whole Elia Denola is on the side, just scribbled on the side throughout the entire thing. And apparently they first thought that it was like they didn't know what it was, and then they realized, oh, it was Sforno giving shiur and his student taking notes during the shiur, which is just like really cool. Yeah, so I don't know. Somehow seeing it in the physical manifestation was different for me. Okay, so quick review. The perek has 18 psukim, 1 through 9. He basically learned it as an allegory for the intellect and the other faculties of the body, right? Or the other faculties of the person's physical faculties. So the imagination, the senses, all this other stuff. So the king in the mashal is the intellect. And basically he was learning all of this as methodology for how to think properly and engage in responsible intellectual analysis. Okay, but then he switched, and we only did the first part of this last time. Pasuk 10, which I want to review. Okay, so 10 is when he switches from the personal mode into the national mode. All right, and it is a crossover because actually, sorry, he's not in the national mode yet. This is when he starts talking about the purely internal world to thinking about ideas from the other nations. Okay, so let's just go over 10 again. Okay, so the pasuk itself says, "Benos malachim bi kurosecha nitzava shegel liminecha b'cheser ofir." Daughters of kings are among your honored ones. The consort, the queen, stands at your right hand, adorned in the gold of Ophir. So we're going to read both, and we'll discuss it. So Sforno says, "Benos malachim." So what are these daughters of kings? So again, king is intellect. So daughters of kings are ideas. Okay, and the king we're talking about is the individual who is the student of Tehilim, but kings plural are other intellects. Okay, so he says, what are these benos malachim? Deos chachme ha'umos v'rayosam, the views and arguments of the sages of the nations. Okay, bikrosecha, they are among your honored ones. Him etzlecha imaros yikaros shenemro b'tuv hasecha or b'tuv haskel. They are to you precious sayings spoken with good reasoning. Okay. Mikol Macham, nevertheless, Nitzava Shegel. The queen stands liminecha at your right. Hua koach hadimyoni shalcha. This is your imaginative faculty. Hamatsayeres kabbalas avos nito liminecha b'keser ofir. Your imaginative faculty, which portrays the inherited traditions of your ancestors, stands at your right, adorned with the gold of Ophir. What does that mean? Im divrei Torah madim mizahav asher besocha mofsim sichlim morim al hefech rov deos chachmei umos. So it's the words of Torah, more desirable than gold, which contain rational proofs that contradict the majority, or maybe not majority, the multitude of the views of the nations of the sages of the nations. Okay, so what's the so just in terms of the factual thing here. So again, the imaginative faculty in Aristotelian world has 3 roles. One is it takes the sense impressions and maintains them beyond the stimulus. Okay, so for example, if you see a bird fly in front of you, if you just had senses, then you couldn't think about the bird in any sense once it was out of your sight. Okay, but the imaginative faculty allows you to retain the sense impression. It allows you to store it as memory and retrieve it. And then it also allows you to manipulate it in your mind. Okay, so these are all functions of the imaginative faculty. So capture, retrieval, and then manipulation. And these are the functions that can serve one of 2 masters. Okay, your imaginative faculty can serve your mind. So when you're thinking about any idea, so again, let's say you're thinking about birds, you're thinking about tefillin, you're thinking about math, well, or math is a little bit difficult, but you're thinking about all these things. So what you're doing is you are taking things that you've seen or had empirical data, and then you're storing it in your imagination, retrieving it, and then manipulating it so that your mind can work on it and try to abstract underlying principles. Okay, so that's serving the intellect. But your imagination can also serve your emotions. And when they do that in an extreme form, we call that fantasy. Okay, right? So you can take the real sense impressions, but then if your Yetzer Hara is the thing that is fueling it and directing how you use your imagination instead of your intellect, so your Yetzer Hara will hijack it and blow out of proportion the fears or the fantasies and lead you to make bad decisions based on this distorted information. So it can serve your imagination, can serve your mind, or it can serve your Yetzer Hara, and it's always like a war between those two. Yeah.
In this explanation, like, what does imagination have to do with the arguments and of the stages of the nations?
So
and why are they called like precious sayings spoken with sound reason?
Okay, so okay, good question. So from the actually, I meant to read the Elia Nola first. So actually, let me read Elia Nola, and then we'll go back to that. So he said, I'm just going to read it in English. What has been said until now could also apply to someone from among the nations, for they too possess intellect and their own seven mitzvos. From this point onward, however, it refers to the intellect of the Jew, which is clear and pure. Now, again, when you first read that, it sounds like he's being supremacist, but then he explains that it's not a supremacist, it's because we eat kosher, okay? And he believed, like many Mefarshim, like the Ralbag and Ramban had a similar theory, that the reason why the Torah prohibited certain foods is because it affects your perfection. Okay, like the actual substances of the foods affect your perfection. So the only example I wanted to give, so Ramban learns it more in terms of mitos. So like let's say, for example, there are, I mean, I think this is true even nowadays, there are, your diet can affect your hormones, right? And can affect your certain things like, aggression, irritability, things like that. But they took this to the point where, and I'm sure there are foods that can affect your brain function as well, but they took this as the reason for kashrus. Okay, so he says, surely, as it says, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people, and it is written, you shall become defiled through them. That's the non-kosher foods, referring to forbidden fats and other foods from which God has separated us, which dull the heart and intellect and disturb the faculties that serve them. Daughters of kings are among your honored ones. That is, certain ideas from the intellectual traditions of the nations are precious in your eyes, such as natural and theological philosophy. Okay, natural philosophy meaning science, theological philosophy meaning metaphysics. Nevertheless, do not turn to their offerings. For the queen stands at your right in the gold of Ophir, meaning that the imaginative faculty within you is adorned with gold of Ophir, in contrast to the imagination of the nations, whose defilement has never ceased. That's talking about the, hold on. Oh, that's a bad translation. I like saying whose defilement from the Nachash has never ceased. Your imagination serves your intellect as a queen. Theirs, however, is deceptive, a maidservant to their intellect, leading it astray. Therefore, turn and incline yourself toward your own intellect, not toward their opinions, which are corrupt, even if they seem precious in your eyes. So Isaiah's question was like, why does he call them, saying that they're precious to you and spoken with sound reason? So the thing is again, it's a tug of war, is that all human beings have a Tzelem Elokim, and the Tzelem Elokim is able to apprehend reason and truth. But what he's claiming happens is among the nations, they get this glimpse of the truth, but then when they develop it, because their imagination is active and they haven't taken the, well, it's two things. One is their imagination is under the sway of their Yetzer Hara and distorts and negatively affects their ideas. Secondly, they don't have access to the queen, which is the repository of true ideas that we have from the Masorah. So that combination makes their ideas inferior, not intrinsically inferior, but tainted by their lack of exposure to the Torah system. Yeah.
The queen is the Torah, or the queen is the imaginative?
The queen is the Torah. The queen is the queen is the Torah knowledge that's in the imaginative faculty. Yeah. So I got into a little bit of an argument with someone on Substack, because I wrote about this on my Substack note probably on Thursday, last Thursday. So I wrote up that idea, and I was claiming that this is a new, what's going on here? That this is a like different approach to Torah Umada, okay, than I had seen before. So this person, Polonius Almonius, okay, so he wanted to say that this is just the Rambam. Okay, that this is not a new idea. This is just the Rambam's idea, which is he said, and he brings a bunch of proofs and readings from the Rambam that Rambam holds that your midos can affect your ideas. So like, what's new? So what I wanted to argue, what I want to just clarify here, I'm not going to read through the whole discussion that we had, but I'll just read this comment here. I said, I still think I'm making a more subtle point than your comments reflect. Oops, keep on misclicking. The Yetzer Hara caused me to injure myself today. I zested my hand.
That's not a good thing. Don't listen to each other.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But the reason why it was the Yetzer Hara was because I've zested my fingers twice. So I decided to start using rubber gloves whenever I zest. But then I thought to myself, nah, I'll just do it at a different angle. And lo and behold, I got into it with a different angle, so this is interfering with knowledge in more than one way. Yeah, the bandage just is coming off now. Anyway, so I said, I agree that the Rambam wrote about how a person's imperfections and midos will impede his intellectual perfection. Your citation from the Morah is a great example. The Rambam talks about this all over in the Morah Nevuchim, where if you don't perfect your psyche, it's going to affect your ideas. What I do not see is the Rambam warning Jews not to learn ideas from non-Jews because their knowledge is tainted by their bad midos. That is not a position I've seen. Okay, you see people all the time say that non-Jewish ideas are somehow like bad, or that they are false, or like they're going to lead you straight from the Torah.
Just because they're non-Jews, or
because they're non-Jews, or because they're not from the Torah. Okay, that's different things. And you see people saying that non-Jews have bad midos, but I just have not seen this particular thing before about how good ideas can be tainted by bad midos of the people who are investigating them, and that being in the Torah regimen is the antidote to that. Again, it's a subtle approach. Yeah.
Where are you seeing anything about midos in this?
So
or is that in a different process?
So that is in I think he might talk about it later, but this allusion to the in Elia de Nola of the Zuhama of the Nachash. Let me just show you the Gemara. Shabbos Kuf Mem Vav Amud Aleph. Shabbos. And again, this is I gave half a shiur on this earlier in the year about the Sforno and the Nachash. I did not get a chance to fully expound on that. But if you understand that, then you'll understand this. Let's see here. Snake. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah. So it's actually at the bottom of the previous one. Kuf Mem He Amud Beis. Yeah. Mipnei ma goyim mizuhamin. So why are the Gentiles contaminated? Okay, YouTube's going to demonetize this now. Shalo, it's not monetized anyway. Shalo amdu har Sinai, because they didn't stand at Har Sinai. Shabasha'a shaba nachash al chava hetil ba zuhama. When the Nachash arose against Chava, he infected her or injected into her zuhama, which I'm translating as I think venom is a good thing. They say defilement, putridity. I don't know. Yisrael sh'amdu har Sinai paska duramasan. So the Jews who stood at Sinai, their zuhama ceased. Goyim shelo amdu har Sinai lo paska zuhamasan. But the Goyim, their zuhama did not cease. Okay, so let's just see if the footnote, if he talks about this in the footnote, because he's usually pretty good about that.
So Yuri and the Zuma, that would be like a midos thing?
Yes, yeah.
Is that explicit in the word Zuhama?
No, it's in the Sforno's whole way that he learns the Nachash and how it affected the human being. Yeah, I am bringing in from more than just this. Yeah, although I do think he does say later on. Let's see here. Okay, the footnote doesn't look like it says anything here. Yeah, so right. So did I answer your question about why he's admiring? Because the ideas are good in the other nations, but they're compromised because of their lack of exposure to the Masorah, which might have mofsim sichliim, rational proofs that can like refute certain ideas, and also they're swayed by their intellectual, their imaginative faculty, which causes deception. And it is a shifcha hi l'sichlam. It's their imaginative faculty is a sorry. About dimion ha'umos hu kozev v'shifcha hi l'sichlam umatim muskalehem. It leads us astray. It causes their concepts to err. Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's what we reviewed last time. But let's develop it. And I do have a goal tonight, other than finishing the Sforno, which is I think he builds a bridge from here to what Yemos Moshiach is going to be like, and how we're going to get there. And what I would love to see is the through line from the purely internal thing about how to think to how we gain from the Torah and navigate the waters of the non-Jewish philosophies, and then how Moshiach is going to bring this to humanity. Okay. All right. So next pasuk. Shim'i bas uri v'hati oznech v'shichli amech v'beizadich. Listen, daughter, and see, and incline your ear. Forget your people and your father's house. Okay. So again, daughter. Again, it's not the most consistent metaphors, because daughter, we said before, is daughters of kings are the ideas of the intellects. Here he's saying it's the imaginative faculty itself. So princess, okay, the princess is the imaginative faculty. He says, Shimi bas uri, therefore you, the imaginative faculty, which conveys sensory input to the intellect, listen to it. Forget your people, that is, disregard the many actions of the other faculties. So again, that's the war within the person, is your imaginative faculty is a tool that's designed to help your mind think, but it's always hijacked by your other emotions, so you're, again, from distraction to, you are in the middle of learning and your stomach growls and you start fantasizing about the food that you're going to eat, to actively, like, you are studying morality, but then your emotions want one thing, so you start to rationalize the what you want, or you are denying certain things. Okay, so this is all the effects of the imagination on the intellect. And Elia Nola combines this with his commentary on the next two psukim. So we'll read the Sforno first, then Elia Nola. Then the king will desire your beauty, for he, again, this is ChatGPT capitalized this, for he is your master. Again, the king here is the intellect, and you shall bow to him. Sforno. The king shall desire your beauty, as I've described this intellect, which is the king over you all, meaning over all the faculties. And the daughter, Uvas Sur b'mincha panayich yechalu ashire am. And the daughter of Tyre, I always forget how to say it, will come with tribute, the richest of the people will seek your favor. Do not concern yourself with acquiring, that's Elia de Nola, hold on, let's go back. He now turns to address the Jewish imaginative faculty. As it says, listen, daughter, and see, and incline your ear, forget your people and your father's house. Meaning, do not direct your imagination toward matters of the perishable world. Rather, forget them and apply your activity to divine matters. Okay, so this is another loaded thing. Okay, so Rabak develops this the most in his commentary on Gan Eden. But basically the idea is, even if you have a functioning intellect, one of the mistakes you can make is to devote your intellect to studying things that don't actually give your soul perfection and that don't give your soul eternal life. So you can use your intellect and you can use it to just study, chess, right? Or you can use it to study, like, Hollywood, like, something that is just, the study of what is going to give you better pleasure or whatever, So he's saying, like, don't pay attention to other things. Direct it towards matter. So that's what he's calling matters of the perishable world, things that are purely physical. Direct it towards things that are actually, like, eternal, divine. Then the king will desire beauty, for he is your master, and you shall bow to him alone. Do not waste your time acquiring wealth and accumulating money. So again, that's another use of the intellect, using your intellect just to figure out how to make money, right? Which is a means to an end. But if you spend your whole life in that, then you never actually use your intellect for what it was designed for. Rather, strive for understanding and goodness, and honor will come in the end. This is the meaning of the daughter of Tyre, referring to the wealthy among the nations. As it says, Tyre, the bestower of crowns, whose merchants are princes. They will come of their own accord to bow to you and to seek your favor with a gift. This is the intent of the sages saying, okay, now I think this is actually, okay, let's just see what he's quoting here. He says, L'olam yadrin. Yeah, okay, yes, this is the Gemara. In Bava, this is actually brought down in Halach, I think. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Harota shiachim yadrim v'shiachir yatzbin. Have you heard this? That if you want to become wise, you should turn south when you're davening. And when you want to become rich, you should turn north. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Amar, L'olam yadrim shemischakim misasher. He says you should always turn south, because by becoming wise, then you become rich. Okay, funny machlokas there, right? So the main idea from what I understand about the machlokas is, and the post can actually bring this down. There's a machlokas achronim that like about doing this in real life, about do you face your body always towards Yerushalayim, but then turn your head, or do you face your head towards this direction and turn your body towards that direction and then turn your head, but I think the main idea is that you can't do both, right? Which is funny because Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi seems to be saying you can do both, meaning you can't turn north and south at the same time, without breaking your neck. Maybe that's the lesson here. Yeah. So I don't think his intent is to go into this. I think he's just trying to show this idea that you have these other nations that are involved in seeking wealth, but if they recognize the value of a life of the intellect, then they'll seek guidance from you also. And again, that's a big argument the Mishnah uses, is it basically says, oh, you want to make money, use chachma, and then that'll make you money. Yeah, okay. And then the king will desire beauty, as I've described this intellect, which is king over you all. Yeah, okay, this is the same point. Yeah. So the only thing I'm not sure about here is when he says the king, the daughter of Tyre, they will come with their own accord to bow to you and seek your favorable gift. It seems like he's dancing between mushal and nimshal here. I don't know if he's saying don't use your intellect for like being allured by Tyre, by the wealth, meaning the richness of the perishable world, or if he's talking about the actual king of Tyre, because you're going to see he then goes into talking about the actual Moshiach in a little while. Yeah, Isaiah.
This king next pasuk. No.
Oh, above.
What is your beauty?
Right. The king will desire your beauty. Good question. And this is the beauty of the imaginative faculty. So
I guess beauty is like the good ideas.
I think the good idea is from the Masorah. He's still going on from this before, right? That the daughter is the imaginative faculty, which is the repository of ideas that you can recall, of like received knowledge. And the intellect wants to be able to focus on that, but if the intellect's being led astray by all these other things, then it's not going to really be able to do that. Yeah. Okay. So this is where he develops one more step, okay, in terms of this Torah Umada philosophy of the Sforno. Okay. 14 and 15. All the glory of the king's daughter is inward. Her raiment is filigreed with gold. Now, I think Sforno is going to change that translation, so we'll have to see. Oh no, maybe not. Lirkamos tuval lamelach besulos achareha reosaha muvaos la. An embroidered garment she has led to the king. Again, it keeps capitalizing king. Maidens in her train, her companions are brought to you. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, so this is now a tefillah. Okay, so Sforno says, I'm going to read this in Hebrew. Yihiratan shekol uma nechberes berov chachamim. May it be God's will that every noble nation, exalted by its multitude of sages, mi mishbetzos zahav levusha, whose garments are adorned with golden settings. Shechachameha asu mishbetzos zulas even yakara. This is a new mashal, that their chachamim have made settings that lack precious stones. So what does that mean? V'zeh kihim hisigu ezo chachma. They grasp some chachma of aloha tachlis hamechuvan, but not the intended purpose, the ultimate purpose. Elia Nola is going to give an example. Librikmos tuval lamelech. They'll be brought to the king. Tuval lamelech hamashiach shitin b'mishpatos avanim yikaros b'mosim v'deos amitios. They will be brought to the king, that is to Moshiach, who will place precious stones into their settings through rational demonstrations and true ideas. Besuos muvaos lach v'chein yaviu l'cha l'sakin dasos v'nimusim u'minhagim asher etzlam. And they, again, this keeps capitalizing the Y. This is, likewise, may they bring to you their dasos, okay, their religions. I think this actually is religions because nimus is laws. Their nimusim, their systems of law, uminhagim, and customs, in order l'sakin them, to refine them. Okay, so before we interpret this, let's look at Elia Nola because he says even more. Hold on, I lost the mouse now. Okay, he says, Ata ad sofa mizmor, from now until the end of the mizmor, Yidaber me'osam sheyishru kohanei Hashem la'asid lavo bimos haMashiach. He speaks about those who will remain as the priests of Hashem in the days of Mashiach. V'yispalel, he davens for them. V'amar, kol, I don't know where he gets from the mizmor that this is a tefillah. Sounds like it's just the same narrative as before, but he's saying it's a tefillah. Kol kavud bas melech pnima asher mishpatot zahav levusha. Aval chaserim avnei hamilim b'mishpatos u'mimiusam. But the settings are missing the precious stones needed to fill them. Yehiratan shelirikmos tuval lamelech. May be God's will that should be brought to the king in embroidery. Klomar shetuval ata habas melech melech Mashiach lirikmos. Lirikmos. Hainu shirakim mishpatos hachasirim v'malech chasronam. That the embroiderer, he may embroider the missing settings and complete what is lacking. Okay, so what's the mashal? He's going to give an example now. This is a metaphor for the philosophical disciplines which began to fashion the settings of a chaser hamiluim, but they're missing the inlays of the precious gems. Ki asu hakdamos al emes. They made introductions or preparations for the truth. K'moshe asa a philosoph al derech masha shemata hasiba harishona, like Aristotle, who identified the first cause. Amnam lo yuchal limtzo imhu mashgiach imla, but he was not able to determine whether God had hashgacha or not. Okay, uvizman Moshiach, but at the time of Moshiach, hu yoret tzedek lanu, he will instruct us in not justice, rightness, as he said before, correctness. Ki mitziyun teitz Torah, for the Torah will go forth from Zion. V'lo tihye od ha'emes ne'adaras, and the truth will no longer be lacking. The sulos achar hareos amuvos lach v'o yihiratan shireoseha shel zos habas kavuda. May also be his will that the companions of this honored daughter, shehim hadinim v'hamishpatim, which are the legal systems and rulings, chadashi mikarov ba'u, that they innovated by people, asu v'chidshu anashim kirtonim, that people innovated according to their own will, yihu muvaos lach, they will be brought to you, to the king, Moshiach, l'sadram u'lasakim roa hanhagasam, to, again, this keeps on making this capital, to arrange and correct their flawed governance. Amro, as it says, v'yorenu midracha v'nelcha b'orchosav ukamru v'shefet bein ha'amim rabim. As it says, he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, and he will judge among many nations. Okay, so what is he saying is going to happen in the time of Moshiach? I know it was a lot.
Fix all the broken systems of thought
Yeah, right. So what's going to happen is,
and law.
yeah, and law, right? Okay, so let me actually just summarize this. Okay, right. So again, the thesis here is that the non-Jewish nations did ascertain truth and value in their ideas and systems. Okay, but it's flawed because they lack access to the Masorah, and because the way of life they live allows their imagination to lead their intellect astray. Okay, when Moshiach comes, they will. Sorry, hold on a second. And for this reason, their adornments are like settings without precious stones. Okay, namely, a good framework, but without the purpose, which is the ultimate truth. When Moshiach comes, the other nations will recognize what he has to value, and he'll help them sort out complete their adornments, and he'll help them filter out their systems, separating the good from the bad. Now, what fascinates me about this is, again, to me, I just don't think this is something that happens instantaneously. This is something that is a process of development. And let's say, hypothetically, some rabbis from yeshiva write an article about, fine-tuning for the Daily Wire. Like what the goal is here is that we do have guidance from the Torah. Again, it's not flawless because even if the Torah is flawless, we ourselves are among the nations, so we have our ideas infected by them. And I'm sure people would point to, to his example from Aristotle and say, yeah, that's what messed up the Rambam. But the point is that like that at the time of Moshiach, then we'll be able to unite humanity through the endeavor of the Tselem Elokim, because he'll help be the teacher to them, to help them say like, oh yeah, this system, let's say like, maybe, again, I'm just throwing this out here, America with it, the Rabbi Jonathan Sachs always quotes the, I guess there was a famous thing of Jerusalem versus Athens, so Rabbi Sachs always has Jerusalem, Athens, and Gettysburg. Those are his three things. He said basically like Jerusalem introduced, these values into the world. Athens developed philosophy, but then America translated into a political system that has the potential to have, all men created equal be the foundation of everything. So like we'll be able to say like, oh yeah, let's look at these, things that these ideas that the founding fathers attempted their best to try to like enshrine in a constitution for a country, and the Moshiach will be able to help them to see what is good and what needs to be worked on. Yeah, Oren?
Okay, so firstly, we're saying about because the way of life they live, that whole business. Again, that's coming from other Sforno places, right?
It's coming from other Sforno places, but so I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't know why he focused on the kashrus and the eating, because I would say that it's not just that. I'd say it's the Torah having a regimen that helps us with our midos is something that a lot of these non-Jewish chachamim are not doing. Like, yes, there are people like, like Plato who sought to live a life of truth, but also like morality. But then look at like the philosophers in the last like couple of decades. Like you had a lot of them who were focused on like truth, or physicists, right? Focused on truth, but not living a moral life. So I feel like that has to be part of the goal of Ophir, that the Torah is trying to get us to seek truth, but also live a life where we're getting our psyche in shape as well. Yeah.
Okay, second question, probably bigger question. So in this framework, is there anything actually helpful about the non-Jewish philosophy?
Good question. So
like from our point of view, at least.
Yeah. So
it seems like it's totally unnecessary.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Okay. I on the one hand, it sounded like from what the Sforno said is no. Sounded like he said earlier.
What's no? I don't know.
Meaning that you should not hold on a second. He says actually it was Elia Nola. Therefore turn and incline yourself toward your own intellect, not towards their opinions, right, which are corrupt, even if they seem precious in your eyes. That seems to be steering people away from it. On the other hand, Sforno wrote the book Or Amin, which is his More Nevuchim, where he goes through like, all of Aristotle and like tries to work out all the same questions. And he clearly, and he's quoting left and right, the Muslim Aristotelians, so in practice, it seems like Sforno did like seek out knowledge that was of value in the other nations, and like try to, to try to like get what's valuable from them. So it's a little bit mixed messaging from here, though. It sounds like, from his commentary here, he's not advocating that we actually go into the knowledge of the other nations, even though we recognize value. Yeah, Joshua?
What do you think, like, when he's saying knowledge here, he's saying, like, specifically, like,
Sorry. Still bloody. Yeah.
Specifically, like, the religious knowledge?
No, I think not. I think he did mention that when he said the dasos. Again, das can mean law or custom also. Where did he say that?
I just thought last week, I could be remembering wrong, but I just thought last week he said that, like, or we read something that, like, the science is good from them, but the other stuff isn't. Like, just because that stuff is good doesn't mean everything is good. Right?
I might have used that as an example, but he is differentiating between the chachmos, and then here is the besulos, the maidens, which are their dasos, venimusim, uminhagim, and that's the religion, systems of law and customs. So it sounds like in the theoretical and in the practical, both those realms. Yeah, like, so they have value, but there's also corruption.
So does that mean that we should look or shouldn't look?
So again, I think from the commentaries, it sounds like he's dissuading us from looking, but from the actual Sforno's derech, it sounds like he actually did advocate gaining truth from the non-Jews. Yeah.
Okay, so from the actual pasuk of Yud,
Yeah.
and also from where was it? From what he says on 14 through 16.
Yeah.
It seems like I don't know, like there is some benefit of the non-Jewish philosophies in themselves, maybe.
Yeah, there
I mean,
is.
like well, first in the pasuk of Yud, the Torah is the queen,
Right.
but not the king.
Right. Well, the Torah
So-
is the Torah is the queen because the intellect is the king, and the queen is the imaginative
Okay,
faculty.
fine.
Right.
But even here, though, when he's talking about what Moshiach is going to do,
Yeah.
he said, Nola, I'm talking in English, right, that their incomplete philosophies form the settings, the lack of gemstones.
Yeah.
Which would imply that we have the gemstones, but not the settings.
No, not that we have the gemstones, not the settings, but that the one doesn't follow from the other.
Okay.
Yeah, meaning they have the settings, but not the gemstones. We have the queen adorned in the gold of Ophir, which is the imaginative faculty that is, adorned with the Masorah.
Right. It's not really Torah Ummata. Like, doesn't really seem like there's much for us to gain from that. Maybe.
Yeah, right, correct. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, but the reason why again, maybe this is the same problem that I was having a hard time articulating before. I've not seen this before in other people. Either people, invalidate non-Jewish wisdom, or they're gung-ho about it. And Sforno has this very mixed view, which is there is value, but it is fraught with danger because it's coming from people whose intellects are compromised. And in the time of Moshiach, we will unite with. See, I don't think the people who view Torah and Mada as a clash, I don't think they say that, oh yeah, at the time of Moshiach, all of the non-Jewish philosophers and scientists will get together with us, and we'll be able to help them sort out their truth that they stumbled upon and that they tried to develop, and that they had all the settings there, but they just didn't have the gemstones. I think that's a much more universalist, cooperative, Tselem Elohim oriented view than a like, well, there's holy knowledge and there's unholy knowledge. Like it's different.
And also, I mean, it's even possible, like right now, that they know something that we don't.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, right.
It's just you just have to like wade through.
Right. Now, here's one question I don't know, which is that I know that there are people who kind of hold, and when I say people, I don't mean necessarily like, Chacham and Masorah. There are people who hold that like all the knowledge for all truth is like in the Torah. And so, and people might be able to find some truth without Torah, but that's it. I don't know how much the Sforno holds that was given in the Torah. Like Rabag, for example, has an extreme opinion. He holds that like correct physics and physics was and astronomy was given in the Torah. I think it's pretty clear that that's not true. I don't know what Sforno held about that,
Right.
but yeah, you're right. Okay, let's go on.
Even in philosophy, I would think the Sforno would hold that they might know something we don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Okay. 16. Tuvalna bismachos v'gil tovuenna behechal melech. They are led with joy and glad. I forget who the they is. Is this these all these maidens, right? So these are the systems of law and minhagim. They are led with joy and gladness. They enter the palace of the king. So Sforno shelo titztarach ata lelechas aleim u'lasakdam. You will not need to go to them to improve them. In other words, they're going to come to you. You're not going to go to them. We're not going to do outreach at the time of Moshiach. They'll come to us. And then Elia de Nola tuvana bismachos v'gil yihi ratzon she'elu. So it's a tefillah. Yihi ratzon she'elu reyoseha tuvana bismachos v'gil bli katatav irur. May they come with joy, without strife, to find the king already in his place. I don't know what he's saying there. If this is the time of Moshiach, then yeah, they're well, yeah. Maybe it's a question of when this is going to happen, because the time of Moshiach is going to be peace. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, not
be out and about, or he could be literally sitting right there already.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe he should be sitting there and not.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically this could start beforehand, but okay. Tachas avosacha yihu banacha tishisemo lesarim b'chol haaretz. In place of your ancestors will be your sons. Talking to the king, you will appoint them as princes throughout the land. Sforno. Tachas avosacha yihu banacha, banacha v'talmidecha. Your sons and your students, Yehu Kedavid Avicha V'Zulasa, will be like David and the others. Kamru V'Haya HaNichshal Bahem B'Yom Hahu Kedavid. The people among them on that day will be like David. Okay, so we'll have a high level. Eli de Nola Tachas Abosecha Yehu V'Necha Yiratan Shetamidecha Sheim Kabanim Yehu Tachas Abosecha Hanu David. Kamru V'Haya HaNichshal Bahem B'Yom Hahu Kedavid. Tishisem L'Sarayim B'Chol Haaretz Kamru Apayim Eretz Yishtakavulach. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that's adding about why he has to go into the students. I mean, if he's saying that your students will be like David, I mean, this is kind of like what the Rambam was alluding to that we read about Moshiach last time, which is that knowledge will increase greatly. So it'll be possible for people who are the students, mere students at the time of Moshiach, will be way, greater, or will be like David, like the greatest in the previous generations. I mean, again, like, even take now, like, I think it's safe to say, and again, it sounds heretical, but I'm going to say Rambam had way more knowledge than Avram Avinu. Okay. Avram was closer to Hashem, it seems, from the level of Magen Avram that he got, but Avram didn't have the Torah. He didn't have generations of Nevi'im. He didn't have generations of Chachamei Masorah, and he was in a world where science was very, very lacking. So, in the time of Moshiach, when we have this influx of knowledge, then even the lowest among the Jews will be at a much higher level or on an equal level to the greatest of past generations. Yeah. Okay. Okay, then we got the last pasuk. I think it's the last pasuk. Askira shimcha b'chol dor v'dor alkin amim yehuducha la'olam va'ed. I will make your name remembered in every generation. Therefore, people will praise you forever and ever. Sforno askira shimcha b'tu pu'ulasacha, for your good deeds. Alkin amim yehuducha kishetigla malchusacha. Therefore, nations will praise you forever and ever once your kingdom is revealed. This is where I got mad at ChatGPT and said, our Messiah is not a God. Stop capitalizing the you as though he's divine. And it stopped capitalizing the yous. All right. V'hoyel v'diber al Mashiach. Since it's speaking about Mashiach, Amar Kenegdo, he says about him, Askira Shimcha b'chol dor v'dor. I will mention your name in every generation. Klomar, b'chol dor v'dor ani maskir Shimcha v'omer. I will mention your name and say, v'dor ze yavo Mashiach tzidkenu. In every generation, I will mention your name and say, in this generation, the righteous Mashiach will come. Obador haba, or in the next generation, umachashiv kitim. I thought you're not supposed to do that. I'll calculate the end times. Ve'ata ino inachaba. Yet you do not come. I just want to see if the footnote says anything about that, because all we're against calculating the end times. It's worse. It says may their head explode. Yeah. And he doesn't say. Fine. Weird. Okay. Anyway. Oops.
Where did he calculate?
He says, "B'chol dor v'dor ani maskir shimcha v'omer b'dor ze yavo Mashiach tzidkenu o b'dor haba u'machashev kitzim v'ata einach haba." So in this generation, I'll come in this generation or in the next, and calculate end times, and he still doesn't come.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, your English is not good. There's
bad? Okay.
Yeah. Alkin amim yehuducha l'olam va'ed. Therefore, peoples will praise you forever and ever. Lefi she'ata tavo achar hayesh. Oh, interesting. Because you will come after people have given up hope. V'az yizachru ma'idosi tamid im bam al biasacha. Then they will remember that I always bore witness to your coming, and they will praise you forever and ever. Al derech amru v'agid lecha me'ad terem tavu hishmaticha. I don't know why he's mentioning that. So I will mention your name in every generation, that we should yearn for the Moshiach to come. I don't know why he's bringing in the stuff about people who give up hope. Al kin yehuducha la'olam va'ed. Therefore, peoples will praise you forever and ever. I just don't know why he brings in this note of like, calculating the end times and you're not coming, and then after all hope is faded. I'm not sure. Let's do the end, and then we'll see if we can unify it. Because
you can't mean that literally, because he says all hope is faded, and then they'll remember I always bore witness. But if I am there bearing witness, then there's still hope because I'm there.
Yeah, I mean, I took that to mean that hope among all these other people who like, right.
But is I still like the intellect?
So it's hard to tell now, right?
Yeah. Like
That could work, right?
he, if the intellect always bore witness to
Right.
the outcoming, so that makes sense.
Right. Let's so he summarizes at the end though. So he's like, it's so the psalm teaches us that Hashem's love for us comes through the exercise of our intellect and the performance of good deeds. Asher ba'avuram Hashem ohev osanu, through which Hashem loves us. Umoshach osanu shemin sason hatzlacha, and anoints us with the oil of joy and success. V'hodiano, and he makes known to us sheha'ahava shemavakish Hashem imenu he shenaskilehu unadaehu, and that the love he seeks from us is that we use our intellects to comprehend and know him. Kamosh Amar, as it says, Shimi bas uri v'gomer v'yishtachav v'yilo, as it says, listen, daughter, and bow to him. V'chein amru zal, Chazal say in Sanhedrin Tzadi Beis Amud Aleph, kol mi she'ein bo dea asur l'rachem alav. Anyone who doesn't have knowledge, it's asur to have mercy on him. K'dechsiv, as it says in Yeshayahu, ki lo am binosu. It's funny, it's talking about the Jewish people. For it is not a nation of understanding. V'roy legalus, and they're fit for exile. K'dechsiv, as it says, l'chein gala ami mi bli das. My people have been exiled because of lack of knowledge. The mem there's a because of. The Hadea Hazos, that knowledge, Bir Hanavi Ba'amro, is what the Navi says. Oh, Yehuda Isra quoted this in the Sunday shiur. V'haya kinor v'navel v'gomer, ves pol Hashem lo yavinu u'masayadav lo ra'u. That the work of Hashem they do not understand, and the deeds of his hands they do not see. I think that was what he quoted for the anyone who knows how to calculate, how to do the astronomy and calculate like the halachic, the calendar, and doesn't do that, then this pasuk is applied to them, I think. So you see that there are three parts of this mizmor. Harishon keneged kol adam. The first one is for all humanity. Ki kulam niru b'tzelem u'demus. All of them are created in the Tzelem Elokim and the Demus Elokim. Vasheni keneged Yisrael. Second is corresponds to Israel. Shem yoser ru'im l'or b'orachayim. They're more suited to be illuminated by the light of life, because they have access to the Torah and the laws. And the third part is for those holy ones who will be in the future when the Redeemer comes. Oh, this is interesting. So this is in Avos. I gave Sharon this earlier, either last year or this year. He says in chapter 4, Avos for Chaviv. Gimel, thank you. So it was last year. Rabbi Akiva says, Hu hayomer Chaviv Adam sheniver b'tzelem. So man is precious or dear to God because he was created in Tzelem Elokim. Chiba Yisera Nodas lo sheniver b'tzelem. And an additional sign of endearment is that it was made known to man that he was created b'tzelem Elokim. Shneimar, it says, Ki b'tzelem Elokim asas Adam. Even Yisrael shenikru banim l'makom. So the Jews are precious to Hashem. They're called children of God. Kiba Yisera nodas lam shenikru banim l'makom. And even a greater cause of endearment that they are called it was told to them. Shneimar says banim etam l'Hashem l'keichem. Even Yisrael shenita lam kli hemda. It's funny division. It's not exactly the same three, right? Precious is Israel, that they were given a precious vessel. That's talking about the Torah. I guess what he's saying is you've got human beings, you've got Jews, and then the Jews who really possess the Torah, who like understand this. He says, oh, that's it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So can we unify this here? Yeah. Oh, also, here's a bonus question. I thought of this on the way over here. What's the unity? How does this flow from the other maskils that we've done? Okay, and we already have Elia Nola saying it flows because the last one talked about being in Galus, and this is talking about how to get out of Galus. But I'm wondering if there's something more, more intrinsic like flow. So the question we're asking here is what of it? What's the purpose of this mizmor here? I guess he's going to divide this differently. Hold on. He's going to divide it like this, I think. So you have 1 through 9, which is about all human beings, 10 through 13, which is about the Jews, and then 14 through 18 is about the Kedoshim among the Jews, or the Kohanim. Okay, I have an idea. I'm going to share my idea just in the interest of time here. So if you remember back to chapters 40, 44, 43, and 42, especially 42 and 43, this is where he had the self-talk at the end, right? Matish tochachi nafshi umatam Eli, and then talking to himself again. And then in 44, this was the one where he like is accusing God of like, being unjust and everything, right? So here, maybe it's saying like this: what's the common thread through 42 through 44 is that when we're in Galus, then our imagination gets the better of us, our psyche gets the better of us, and leads us astray from recognizing the truth. And you see from that in 42 and 43, because he has to talk to himself to get him out of the state of like depression where he feels like God has abandoned him and he has no hope. And then 44, it really blows up. 44 is where his total view of God, according to the way that I learned it, his total view of God is messed up because he's thinking that I'm in the right, I haven't done anything wrong, and it's God who's been unjust. So now after identifying the problem is in the psyche and the imagination, 45 is going through the process of, well, what do you do? How do you get out of that? And what's that process going to look like on a national level of getting out of it? And it's going to be, look, we are among, the Gemara about the venom of the Nachash is not, again, it's not a genetic statement, and it's not even a, like, you keep Torah so you're immune to this. It's in the human condition is to be affected by the psyche, right? That's the venom infecting Chava. The antidote, the anti-venom is the Torah that was given at Sinai, but that does not mean that we've all taken it. We are still subject to this venom, and it's affecting our perception of God, or our perception of God's relationship with us. And the way out is going to have to be to slowly undo that venom. And then eventually it's going to occur in each and every one of us, then occur in the Jewish people, and then to humanity as a whole, where Moshiach will facilitate this among all of humanity, and then get back to like the liberating all the kings, Yeah. So that's the common thread, I think.
How would you summarize this perek in particular? So
this perek is a roadmap for extracting the venom and getting out of Galus practically and spiritually, right? In other words, getting out of Galus, like actually like Moshiach, what's going to happen, but also your own effects, being immersed in the effects of Galus, and how to use your intellect to navigate that. And saying that is the basis of God's love for us. I mean, he says that at the end, at the beginning and at the end, as his main point, that God loves us based on our Tzelim Elokim. And that's not just Jews, that's all human beings. And this is a psalm of Yedidos, shiur Yedidos, a song of loves, the love of Hashem for us and the love of us for Hashem. So this is how to unite those, the two parties, in love. Again, the real book for this is shiur shiurim, but like this is shiur shiurim. I don't know if Rambam holds that was written from a Galus perspective. Yeah. Is the next one a maskil also? Oh, this one wasn't. It was maskil. Yeah. Is the next one a maskil? The next one is no. Oh, so we did all the maskils of the Bnei Korach at least. All right, that's good. So can we theorize what a maskil is now? I mean, it does. I mean, I think the translation of didactic psalm is good, but I think what I'm getting from these maskils, what do you say?
I mean, I guess it seems they are all teaching us something about the intellect.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because we never really clarified, like, who was it? Moshe Levin was saying a couple of times ago that, like, to say these prakim sounds a little weird in the sense, not that saying them would be bad, but like, it's not like we're davening to Hashem when we say this perek, right? I mean, like, it's more of a depiction of what's going on, you know? And then the last perek, the way we learned it would really be like, it's appropriate to say if you're caught in that mentality, and this will snap you out of it. But yeah, I mean, I guess when
is this appropriate to say? Kind of
the one that we did,
one we're doing right now.
Yeah, when is this appropriate to say? I mean, right. You want God to love you.
Whenever you need instruction.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, it's it's interesting. I mean, the funny thing here is he's talking to hold on. Gotta look at the English again. I mean, he does talk to the king. This is still continuing the talking to the parts of himself, right? He talks to the king, and he talks to the princess. You know, he is talking to the parts of himself, like just like he did in the end of 42 and 43. Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, yeah, I think what's difficult for me is the way that I learned Tehilim in general is you're getting your mind and your emotions in line with truth. So to me, every Tehilim is like a maskil. So I don't have a clear differentiation about like what makes these different. I guess I mean the best I can do right now is that this is for the other ones, it's like the main purpose is to connect to God. But in order to do that, you have to understand these things. Here, it's like this is teaching you how to connect to God when you're in these debilitated states. So it is instructional in that sense. I think that's the best I can get right now. Okay, that was interesting.
How
to, yeah, right. All right. I hope that was interesting. Again, it was an experiment for the Sforno thing. Next week, there is a good chance that I won't be able to give shiur because it's right after Shavuos, and I have to. It's crunch time. It's like my finals time also, and I'm also going to be leaving for the weekend. And then the week after that will be the last time. Wait, is the week after that? Wait a minute. Is there a week after that?
This is shiur definitely.
No, yeah, I'm saying though for me. Yeah. So the 11th will probably be our last session. So we'll try to find something to do that's like a one-off. Yeah. All right. Thanks.